My name is Claudette Harris. I am 34 years old. I am a high school guidance counselor. I spend my days talking teenagers off ledges, not literal ones, the invisible kind. The ones built out of pressure and silence, and not enough adults paying attention. I am good at it. I am trained in de-escalation, in holding space, in knowing when to speak, and when to let the quiet do the work. What I was not trained for was my own family. 6 months after my grandmother died, I had 3 relatives living in my house. Not her house. My house. The house she signed over to me while she was still alive because she watched me show up for her when no one else did, and then said, plainly, you never asked, so I'm telling you. The house is yours. I did not ask them to leave. Not right away. I let them settle in. I let the casserole dishes stack up and the porch light get changed and the caption, "Our family home," sit under my grandmother's kitchen wallpaper on the internet for 11 days before I did a single thing about it. And then I did something about it. What I did not involve screaming. It did not involve lawyers arguing in hallways or dishes thrown across the kitchen Iris spent 40 years perfecting. It involved a table, a deed, and exactly one sentence I borrowed from my grandmother before I even knew I would need it. I'll tell you what that sentence was. But first, before I go any further, if this story is landing somewhere inside you, take a second and like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. I tell these stories slowly and specifically, and there is more coming. Drop your city and state in the comments while you're there. I like knowing where this reaches. Now let me take you back to the house. The house on Arbor Hill Drive was 3 bedrooms, a yard that needed mowing every 10 days in summer, and a kitchen that had been cooking for 40 years. Not a showroom kitchen. A kitchen that had worked. The drawer that housed the spatulas had to be lifted slightly before it would close. The wallpaper, pale yellow with thin green stems running vertical, had been up since 1987. My grandmother Iris had looked at samples for it in a store on Broadway that wasn't there anymore, and she had pointed to that one because it looked, she said, like something growing. Something growing. That was Iris's whole aesthetic. Things that were alive and pointed upward. The front porch had a swing that creaked on the left side when you sat down. Not a broken creak. A familiar one. The kind that tells you it has held people before and will hold you now. The neighborhood was older. The houses close together, and summer evenings on that porch smelled like cut grass and someone else's grill and the specific sweetness of the Confederate jasmine that had been climbing the left post since before I was born. I had spent more nights in that house than I could count. As a child, Iris's house was the place the volume went down. My mother, Patricia, Iris's oldest daughter, ran a household that operated at a frequency I can only describe as urgent. Everything was slightly too loud, slightly too pointed, slightly too much. Patricia loved fiercely and communicated that love through a kind of pressure that felt, in childhood, like being squeezed by hands that meant well, but didn't notice how tight they'd gotten. Iris's house was different. Iris moved slowly and spoke carefully and had a specific habit of finishing her coffee before she responded to anything that upset her. I watched her do it 100 times. Someone would say something pointed, a dig at the dinner table, a complaint dressed as a question, and Iris would pick up her mug and take one long sip and set it down. And then she would say exactly what needed to be said. Not more. Not less. I was 11 the first time I saw her do it and didn't understand what I was watching. I was 32 and sitting in her kitchen through the second winter of her decline before I understood it fully. Patricia had come by that afternoon, the specific afternoon I am thinking of, to bring groceries and to offer, loudly, to take over the medication schedule. Iris had a system. A weekly pill organizer, color-coded by day, kept on the right side of the kitchen counter between the sugar canister and the window. It worked. I had calibrated it with her over 3 weeks. Patricia picked it up, turned it over once, and said, with a laugh that was not quite mean but worse, dismissive, the kind that doesn't require an audience, "This looks complicated for no reason." Iris picked up her coffee, sipped it, set it down. "It's not complicated for me," she said. "Claudette and I made it together." Patricia put the organizer back. It was such a small moment. The kind you don't record, don't mention, file away in the soft tissue of memory without a label. I didn't understand, then, that she was showing me the pattern in miniature. I didn't understand that what I was watching was the entire inheritance, not the deed, not the house, but the method. The way to hold your ground without making it a battlefield. I should have understood sooner. But she was patient with me. The last real conversation I had with Iris before the hospital stays made conversation difficult happened on that porch swing. October. Cold enough for a coat, but we didn't go inside. She had a blanket across her lap, and I had her coffee in my hands because she'd asked me to hold it while she adjusted the blanket and then forgot to ask for it back. She said, "You know what I noticed about you when you were small?" I said I didn't. "You never asked what you were going to get," she said. "Other children, they want to know. What's my piece? What's my share? You just showed up and helped, and then went home. I used to watch for it. I thought eventually she'll ask. She never did. I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't say anything." She reached over and took her coffee back. "I have something for you," she said. "Not now. I want you to know it's coming, but I want to tell you what it is before I give it to you so you understand why." That was the conversation. We didn't finish it that night. She was tired, and I helped her inside, and we watched 1 hour of the nature program she liked, and then she fell asleep in her chair. I covered her with a blanket from the porch and let myself out. 2 weeks later, she called me to the kitchen table. The deed was already there, in a manila envelope with my name written across the front in Iris's particular handwriting, all lowercase, deliberate, the kind of letters that had thought behind them. She slid it across the table. "The house is yours," she said. "The rest of them will have feelings about it. You just hold the paper." I didn't open the envelope at the table. I took it home and put it in the fire safe where I keep Noah's birth certificate and my own social security card, and I did not take it out again until I needed it. I didn't fully understand, at the time, why she'd said hold the paper instead of hold the house or hold it together. The paper. Specifically the paper. I know now. My cousin Brianna arrived the weekend of the funeral and I said, "Of course, stay through the week, there's room." She took the guest room. She put a candle on the dresser and her skincare in the bathroom, and by Tuesday she was reorganizing the linen closet because, she said, it was hard to find anything in there. The linen closet was organized the way Iris had organized it. I left that alone. My mother, Patricia, arrived the day after the funeral with a casserole dish full of cornbread dressing and the specific energy of a woman who had arrived somewhere she believed she belonged. She put the dish on the counter, and she looked at the kitchen. The wallpaper, the pill organizer I hadn't moved yet, the coffee mug still in its place by the window, and she said, softly, "Mama's kitchen." Present tense. She didn't leave. Uncle Darnell drove up from Nashville by the end of the week. He had a duffel bag and a pickup truck, and within 48 hours he had replaced the porch light with one from a hardware store, a motion sensor model, bright white, the kind that turns on at 2 a.m. when a raccoon walks by. He hadn't asked. He'd announced it after as a contribution. "Porch light was dying," he said. "I know," I said. I had an electrician scheduled. He looked at me the way people look at a problem they've already solved. "Well," he said, "it's done now." Each repair was a small claim. I watched him make 4 of them in the first 2 weeks. The cabinet hinge on the pantry. A fence post he pulled because it had some rot. His words, without an inspection, without asking. The screen door latch he replaced with a different style, the kind that required a key from the outside. He changed the lock on my grandmother's door and didn't give me the spare key until I asked for it twice. Brianna was different. Her method was documentation. She filmed the kitchen in the mornings, the wallpaper behind her, steam rising from a mug, and she captioned the posts things like slow mornings at home and nothing like family cooking. Soft, warm, beautiful. The captions were the claim. Not hostile, not demanding, just quietly, consistently reframing my house as ours. The post that stopped me was the one captioned our family home. My son Noah was at school. I was sitting at the kitchen table, the same table Iris had slid the deed across, and I looked at my phone and saw Brianna's profile, and saw the wallpaper I was literally sitting in front of, and read the words "our family home," and felt something shift. Not rage. Something colder and clearer. I scrolled back. There were 6 posts. 6 posts across 4 weeks, each one placing her inside this house, as though her presence were as permanent as the wallpaper. I screenshotted all of them. The night that changed everything, I came home from a parent conference at 8:45 p.m. The house was lit up, and I could hear the television from the porch. I went inside, and I walked to the back of the house, to the room I hadn't been ready to open yet, Iris's room, the one with the last of her personal things still in it, still arranged the way she left them, and the door was open. The boxes inside were sorted into two piles. Keep. Donate. Neither one made by me. Noah's bike, which I had stored in there temporarily because the garage was full of Darnell's tools, was in the donate pile. I stood in the doorway for a long time. I went back to the hallway. My work bag was still on my shoulder. I found my phone, and I texted Helen, my colleague, the one who had mentioned a property attorney offhandedly once months ago, in the context of someone else's situation, and I typed one sentence. I need the name of that attorney. Then I put my phone in my pocket and I went and made dinner. No one in the house that night knew that anything had changed. I asked Darnell how his day was. I helped Noah find his bike and put it in Noah's room, which I locked. I told Brianna the cornbread was good. The not saying anything was strategy, not silence. There is a difference, and I had finally learned it. I want to stop here and ask you something directly. Has someone ever made themselves at home in something that was yours? Not just your house, your peace, your effort, your identity, and done it so gradually that you almost let them convince you it was normal? If you have, type the word hold in the comments. Because that's what I kept doing. And I want to know I'm not alone in that. Because what happened in the next 30 days was the thing I'd been building toward for 6 months without knowing I was building. Attorney David Cho had an office above a dry cleaner on Bardstown Road and a handshake that felt like a full sentence. He looked at the deed for about 45 seconds. It's clean, he said. Recorded, clear title, your name only. There is no ambiguity here. He explained the notices to vacate in the same tone he would have used to explain a parking ticket. 30 days. Certified mail. 3 recipients. He also mentioned, and I had not thought of this, but I immediately appreciated it, that he could prepare a separate letter to Brianna formally requesting removal of all posts misrepresenting the property's ownership. That's more of a courtesy request than a legal instrument, he said, but people take stationery seriously. I left his office with 3 envelopes I didn't hold on the way out. I had them served on a Thursday while I was at a 504 meeting at the school. I came home that evening and watched Patricia collect the certified mail from the box, hold it briefly, and set it unopened on the kitchen counter. The way people put down things they've already decided don't apply to them. That night I sat in what used to be Iris's sewing room, Noah's room now, with his drawings on the wall and the smell of his specific brand of 8-year-old chaos, and I let myself feel it. Not the plan. The thing under the plan. Iris had been gone for 6 weeks. I hadn't cried at the funeral. I had held things, managed things, driven people places. I had been the person who knew where the funeral home's parking lot was, and who had the right phone number for the insurance, and who had already called the utilities to keep them running. I had been useful in the way that had always been my particular camouflage. In that room, with Noah's sneakers on the floor and the one small spool of Iris's yellow thread sitting on his windowsill, he'd found it in the back room before I could sort it and asked if he could keep it, and I'd said yes without knowing why. I cried. Not dramatically. Just for a while. The way water moves when you stop holding a cup level. I wiped my face. I looked at the thread. You just hold the paper, she'd said. I went to the fire safe, and I took out the manila envelope. I was ready. Patricia had planned a memorial dinner for 6 weeks after the funeral. She had invited 4 relatives from out of town, 2 of Iris's old friends, 2 cousins from Lexington. She had made the calls, arranged the dishes, announced the evening. I did not cancel it. I cooked. A Saturday in mid-October. Iris's kitchen. The wallpaper behind me, the crooked spatula drawer open next to the stove. I made her cornbread recipe, and her slow-cooked green beans, and the sweet potato dish nobody ever made right except her and me, because I had watched her make it 11 times before I was brave enough to ask to write it down. By 6 o'clock the table was full. Patricia at one end, Darnell next to her, Brianna across, the cousins from Lexington, 2 older women I knew from childhood, Miss Estelle and Miss Beverly, who had gone to church with Iris for 53 years and who smelled, as they always had, like powder and somewhere warm. The food was on the table. The plates were warm. The room was loud in the way rooms get when people are performing grief as togetherness. All story and laughter, and we miss her. The volume turned up to hold the silence back. I stood. Not dramatically. I just stood up at the head of the table, where Iris had always sat. I had the manila envelope in my hand. I set it flat on the table, without opening it. The room got quiet, the way rooms do when someone stands and the standing looks deliberate. I want to say something about the house before we eat, I said. Grandma Iris always said the truth tastes better before the food than after. Patricia's face went careful. This house was signed over to me by Iris 6 months before she passed. The deed is in this envelope. It is recorded. It is mine. I opened the envelope then, not frantically, not to prove anything, just because it was time, and I placed the deed in the center of the table. A single page. Claudette Marie Harris. The house on Arbor Hill Drive. Notices to vacate were served to Patricia, Darnell, and Brianna by certified mail on Thursday, I said. 30 days from service date. I am not here to argue about that. I am here because I wanted everyone to hear it at the same table from me because that's how Iris would have done it. The room was very still. Darnell's jaw moved once, like he was adjusting something. Brianna looked at the deed, and then at her phone, and then at her hands. Patricia said, "You are doing this to punish us for grieving." Her voice was not loud. That surprised me. I had expected loud. "I'm doing this," I said, "because Iris spent her whole life holding everyone else up. The least I can do is hold what she left me." I looked at my mother. I held her eyes. "I am not punishing you," I said. "I am finishing what she started." The table was quiet long enough that I could hear the refrigerator hum. And then Miss Estelle, 71 years old, white hair pinned back, who had known Iris since they were both 22 and raising children in the same neighborhood, reached out and touched the edge of the deed with 2 fingers. She looked at it. She looked at me. "Iris always did know exactly what she was doing," she said. That was all. I sat down. I picked up my fork. "Let's eat," I said. Brianna left first. She was gone by Monday. She texted me from the road. A full text, not a short one, which surprised me. That said she was sorry for the posts, that she hadn't thought about how they looked, that she genuinely believed she was celebrating the house rather than claiming it. I believed part of that. The posts came down the same day. All 6 of them, including the one with the caption I had screenshotted and saved and handed to David Cho. I texted back one line. "Thank you." That was enough, and I meant it. Darnell was gone by day 20. He did not leave dramatically. He moved his tools out of the garage on a Saturday while I was grocery shopping, and when I came home the motion sensor porch light had been replaced, by him, with the original fixture, restored and rewired. I don't know when he learned how to do that. Maybe he always knew. He left a note on the counter that said sorry about the lock and nothing else. I kept the note. Not out of sentimentality. Out of respect for the fact that it was hard to write, and he wrote it anyway. Patricia stayed the full 30 days. She did not argue again. She moved around the house quietly for a month, the way people move in spaces that have shifted without them wanting them to. She cooked some evenings. She left the kitchen exactly as she'd found it each time. On her last morning I made coffee, and we sat at the table together, and she looked at the wallpaper and she said, "Mama picked that out." Just that. "I know," I said. She hugged me at the door. It was a real hug. Not an apology, not a surrender. Just her arms around me the way they had been since I was small, which was the truest thing she'd ever given me, and which the last month had not been able to take away. She left the casserole dish. I kept it. It was Iris's, and it belonged in the kitchen, and everyone in that house, without discussing it, seemed to understand that. Noah's room stayed Noah's room. I put a lock on it, a simple one, the kind that requires no key, just a twist from the inside. He didn't need to lock it. It was the statement that mattered. Work in those 30 days was an anchor. I had 17 students on my caseload in active crisis, college applications, a custody situation, a 504 review that had been mishandled for 3 years. I walked into that building every morning with the particular focus of a person who has chosen what she is doing and knows why. Helen, who had given me David Cho's name over lunch 7 weeks earlier, stopped me in the hall one afternoon and said, simply, "You look different." "I feel different," I said. I didn't elaborate. She didn't need me to. Patricia called 11 days after she left. I answered on the second ring. She said she had been talking to Darnell. She said they both felt they had behaved poorly. She said, and I could hear how much this cost her, that she knew the house was mine, and that she had known it for a while and had not wanted to know it. "Mama told me," she said, "before she did it. She called me, and she told me what she was going to do, and why." I was angry. I stayed angry. "I know," I said. "I should have said that to you," she said. Instead of, she stopped. Instead of what I did. I let the silence sit for a moment. Not as a weapon. As room. "I want you to be part of this house," I said finally. "You are welcome here. You are welcome on the porch and at the table. What you're not welcome to do is make decisions here, or treat it as something you share ownership of. Those are the terms. I need you to tell me you understand that." She was quiet for a long time. "I understand that," she said. "Then come for Thanksgiving," I said. "Come as my mother. Stay in the guest room. And come ready to act like a guest." She laughed then. A surprised laugh. The kind that comes out before you mean to let it. The kind that sounds like relief. "She would have liked how you did this," Patricia said. I didn't say anything for a moment. "I learned it from her," I said. By January, 3 months after the dinner, for months since the funeral, the house was quiet in the way it was meant to be. Noah's room had evolved into the organized chaos of an 11-year-old boy who takes things apart to understand them. The sewing room she had made into a space still had the original trim, the same pale baseboards, but it was entirely his. He had a shelf of broken electronics in various states of disassembly. He had, for reasons he could not explain, the spool of yellow thread on his windowsill where the light hit it in the afternoon and turned it gold. I had taken a day in November to go through Iris's back bedroom alone. Radio on. Iris had liked a station that played old soul on Sunday mornings, and I found it and let it run. I sorted what should be sorted and kept what should be kept. Her thimbles. Her fabric scissors, still sharp. A box of buttons organized by color with a handwritten label on each tin. Blues and greens, 1972, present. Her handwriting. All lowercase. Deliberate. I donated 3 boxes to the church thrift shop she had supported for 30 years. They knew her name at the drop-off window, and one of the women said, "Iris Harris, Lord, she used to bring us the most beautiful things." I said she still was. The deed is framed now. On the wall by the front door, between the coat hooks and the mirror. A simple black frame, nothing elaborate, the kind Iris would have approved of. Beside it, a photograph I found in a box in the back room. Iris on the porch swing, maybe 60 years old, one arm along the back of the swing, looking slightly off camera with an expression I recognize now as the expression she got when she was about to say something exactly right and was choosing her moment. Below both frames, on a small card in my own handwriting for words. She knew. I know. Patricia came for Thanksgiving. She came as my mother. She stayed in the guest room. She helped me cook on Wednesday evening and did not reorganize anything and did not refer to it as anything other than Claudette's house for the entire 4 days she was there. On Sunday morning before she left, she sat in the kitchen with her coffee and she looked at the wallpaper. The yellow paper with the thin green stems, the one that looked like something growing, and she didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, "I used to hate this wallpaper." "I know," I said. "I don't anymore," she said. I poured her more coffee. "Good," I said. "I've been thinking about what my grandmother gave me. People say inheritance is about property, about money or the absence of it, about what a family had and what it passes down. And this was a house, yes, 3 bedrooms, a yard, a kitchen wallpaper and a porch swing and a screen door that latched. But what Iris actually gave me was the model. She showed me what it looked like to hold your ground in a way that doesn't require you to be cruel or loud or broken. She spent her whole life being the one who held things, held the family, held the meals, held the peace, and when it was her turn to act for herself, she did it quietly and precisely, and without apology. I tried to do the same. What I learned, and I'm only speaking for myself here, not telling you what to do with your own people, is that there is a difference between holding on and holding firm. Holding on is fear. Holding firm is knowing. Iris knew, and she spent her whole life trying to teach me until I was ready to learn it. If you have ever been the one who showed up, who kept the peace, who let things go until letting things go stopped being grace and started being damage, drop the word Iris in the comments. Tell me your version of this story. I think there are more of us than we know. And if someone in your life could use this story right now, share it. The link to more is in the description. My name is Claudette Harris. I am a guidance counselor. I am a mother. I am a granddaughter. And I am the woman whose name is on the deed.
Subscribe. Stay.
There is more to tell.